Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Fortenberry. My preferred pronouns, she, her, hers. I am the career exploration coach with Cornell Career Services, and I'm here today to talk about what employers want and specifically focusing on those career readiness and transferable skills. I am going to go ahead and actually put in our chat. We'll be referring a lot to our career development toolkit, on Canvas, and specifically the career readiness module. So there's a great workbook that I'm throwing this in the chat right now, the link for the career readiness workbook that will help you just provide some definitions, but also some really good exercises that we're gonna work through today together. Great. All right, so I'm sure that there will be other people that will be joining us as well. But for now, thank you all for joining me today. So to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about, I want to establish some of the goals for today, talk a little through some career development, really focusing on that transferable skills and career readiness and providing some definitions and some understanding of what this is, and then some career readiness exercises throughout. And I always like to leave students with those action items, next steps, so that you have some good understanding of what to do as you move forward. So some of the goals today, definitely increasing awareness of how you are building your skills. You're building those skills right now through the various experiences that you have. And these experiences are definitely preparing you for your future work and life as you move forward. Also really focusing on some strategies and tips for how to articulate these skills to employers and graduate school admissions officers, other professionals, whether it's, we're really going to focus today on resume, but also kind of maybe talking a little bit about how you might have those conversations outside of that as well. We always like to start off our presentations with just understanding our career development model, seeing and understanding that this is a cycle and that each of you, including myself, are in some aspect of this model as we move forward and continue to understand who we are and our strengths and our values, exploring different options, whether it's internships, work after you graduate, or graduate school, or maybe advanced degree options. And then also as you get ready to apply. And some of you may be doing that right now. Some of you may have gone through that process already, but whether it's looking at resumes or cover letters or practicing interviews for internships, jobs after you graduate, or maybe again, as you're thinking about graduate school moving forward as well. All right, so here's where I'm going to put this in the chat again, the link for the career readiness workbook. This will be really helpful to just kind of understand. I'm going to put you into some small groups and go ahead and look through. You can see all the career readiness skills there, but go ahead and just pick one, and I'll give you about 2-3 minutes to just talk a little bit about what does this skill mean to you, even without going through this workshop. Share some of those experiences. You can have a quick little discussion about what the skill means to you. So go ahead and take a moment, and you should be in your groups now. All right, well, welcome back. If you want to, go ahead and put in the chat, just how did that feel, having these conversations and even reading a little bit about these skills as you are starting to learn, maybe in some cases, maybe some of those skills you recognize because you know about leadership. Maybe others were a little bit less familiar to you. Great, yeah. Good. Yeah, I see some really good, sounds like some really good conversations. It looks like some people were referring even from experiences that they had in high school. We had a couple, yeah, so we had some graduate students who also were talking a little bit about maybe research and how that comes into play as you think about the kind of problem solving skills as well. Good, good. Thank you all for sharing. So let's talk a little bit. I mentioned we're going to talk a little bit more about transferable skills. This might be a term that you're familiar with or that you've heard before, but aren't quite sure how you would incorporate this. So defining it, and you can see that definition right up there, but basically, these are the skills that you can apply to a lot of different aspects of, in a career context, different jobs, different industries. They likely are skills that are recognized as being skills that are really important and valuable in those areas. And the good news is that likely you are developing these. You know, maybe some of them you're more familiar with or you're using more than others, but these are definitely skills that are coming from maybe other internships or work experience that you had, potentially maybe volunteer experiences, hobbies that you've had, classes that you're exposed to, or, you know, different projects maybe that you're involved in, or even if you're just at home. So that's really interesting to kind of reflect on. We're going to go ahead and do another little activity. Again, this is in the workbook, so you can refer to this activity, but I'm also going to pull up kind of a summarized version of what is in your workbook to highlight some of these transferable skill examples. So go ahead and take maybe a minute or two, and in your workbook, go ahead and check off some of these skills that you feel like you've either used before or are currently using. And I'll give you, again, about a minute or two to do that. Great, thank you. It sounds like we had some good conversation during the pause. Yeah, I mean, what were some of the skills maybe that as you checked off, you were like, oh, I didn't even really think about this as a skill that I could use, or that employers might be interested in what I do. Setting goals. I mean, we're always setting goals. You think about the critical thinking skill, you know, on a daily basis, oftentimes we're setting goals. Oh, I have to get this homework done, or I need to make sure that I send this email, or I need to connect with a friend. Yes, right? Even those little tiny goals, and they might be longer term goals as well. I'm really looking to build skills to learn more about consulting, for example. In terms of communication, I think a couple of people were talking a little bit about like, oh my goodness, yeah, I do send emails, or, and there are some, again, this is a summarized version of what you're seeing right now, but in that workbook, there's a lot of other skill examples that might really resonate with you. Asking questions in class, talking to a professor, absolutely. You know, even some of those other skills that you see there where you're like, oh, you know, in my research, I do care for plants. I do have to make sure that, you know, my lab is clean, etc. So sometimes this is a nice little confidence booster. And I think sometimes when you think like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm building any skills, but then you go through this worksheet and you realize and recognize that you are building skills. You have a lot of skills. You're also here at Cornell. So you came in with skills, but you're continuing to build on those skills as well. So how does this apply, right? You have these transferable skills. How are they kind of pulling in to help you be ready for career paths? So the definition, kind of the broadly applicable definition of career readiness, because there's a very much more in-depth definition as well, is basically that these are skills that are going to help you succeed in the workplace, that you can apply to your work life. And again, typically employers are looking for these skills. So usually career readiness isn't just like this word or this you know, kind of goal that you're achieving. You're thinking about those skills that you're identifying, recognizing that you're building on these skills and getting more and more knowledge and also abilities. The more you use them, or the more you practice them, or the more that you incorporate them and apply them. And technically, all of those are helping you to really define these like career readiness competencies. Now, I want to address that this doesn't necessarily mean that you've achieved, like there's no like, aha, you are the expert at this, or that you've completed those 8 skills and so you're done and you've kind of like reached a certain level. To be honest, you are constantly, you know, identifying these different skills or pulling in different aspects of those skills. It's really about being aware, continuing to develop the skills throughout your career. So yes, everyone, you may see somebody that you feel has really strong coding skills. Okay, thinking about different steps for you to maybe build on those coding skills if that's your goal, or just recognizing that there are some different ways of kind of developing those skills or similar types of skills. And this is what we're here for, to really kind of help you find those opportunities, connect with different opportunities to help you to continue to build on the skills that you're excited to incorporate as you think about career. Now, the reason why we're talking about career readiness is that we are members of NACE, which is an organization. It's the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And this is an organization that includes both career professionals as well as employers. And so they do a job outlook survey every year to ask employers, what are the top skills that you're looking for, those career readiness skills that you're looking for. And basically they come down to these 8. I will recognize every year they're asking this question. So there is some movement. Sometimes there's some different defining or different labeling for these different career readiness competencies. But ultimately they are these 8. So you've got career and self-development, communication, you've got critical thinking, you have equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. And again, in the career readiness workbook, you can see like quite extensive definitions of each of these. And for some of these terms, maybe you're like, oh, communication, maybe I know what that means, but maybe there's some other areas, for example, professionalism, where you're like, I'm a little like less sure what this term means, or how it can be incorporated into, like, how can I keep building on career readiness skills for professionalism? The good thing is that there's also some really good examples on the career development toolkit for each of these. And we're gonna kind of dive into this a little bit more so we can talk a little bit more about how you can continue to develop these. So, question for all of you as we're looking at this, thinking about employers and what they're looking for, what do you think are the top skills that employers are selecting out of these 8 in the most recent survey? So go ahead and you can put your answers in the chat. Curious what everyone's, oh, you've got lots of leadership. Okay, yep, you've got some critical thinking, equity and inclusion, yep. Good. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for participating. All right. Well, let's take a look. So this is, again, from the Job Outlook survey. And you can see these are the top skills that employers are seeking for the class of 2022. So again, we'll have a new one for next year, but you can see right up at the top, we've got that problem solving skills, honestly, analytical and the quantitative skills, which also that like critical thinking component, that problem solving is right up there. Teamwork, we heard a little bit of teamwork was listed in the chat. Communication skills, yes. Initiative. So this one's kind of interesting too. And you can think about that as like kind of that work ethic aspect as well. Professionalism. So again, these are just some of the top skills, the attributes that employers are looking for the class of 2022. All right, so we're going to do a little exercise together, and there's aspects of this in the workbook as well. So those of you who are just joining us, I've just put in the chat, we are referring to the Career Development Toolkit on Canvas, the Career Readiness module, and there's a great workbook, which is the Career Readiness Workbook. But basically, now that we kind of have an understanding, we've gone through each of these, the 8 career readiness skills, and there's tons more on the Career Development Toolkit. How are you going to apply this now as you think about what you've done and what skills you're building? Maybe even identifying what skills are you hoping to build a little bit more, or where are some skills that you feel maybe you don't have as much experience building and developing. So we're going to refer to this this document as we're kind of thinking ahead, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the exercise. The exercise as well. So again, excuse me, we've got all 8 of those skills there. And really now the goal is to try to think about, we're just going to pick one moving forward and really identify how have you demonstrated the skill in your role. Part of the reason why I'm emphasizing in your role versus in your internship or in your job is because, again, you have experiences, right? We think about those transferable skills where you're building on those career readiness skills. So, a big thing is just kind of really like reflecting on any role. Maybe you were president of a club in high school. Maybe right now you're on a project team. Maybe you volunteer, through an organization as well. So in your mind, just kind of think about some of those roles that you have as a student here at Cornell. It could even be a student in my academic class. So I want you to kind of think about that. For the purposes of this example, we're going to focus on, like, let's just say you volunteer as a tutor. I know many of you, maybe you're TAs, teaching assistants on campus, or maybe you volunteered when you were in high school as a tutor, maybe you have your own tutoring business. But let's just say, kind of broadly speaking, if someone was like, oh, what is your job? And you're like, oh yeah, I volunteer as a tutor. I work with K through 12 students and I tutor various academic subjects. Maybe that was even part of your job description when you applied. Great. All right. Well, there's a lot in that, and probably you do more if you kind of broke that out a little bit more than just what's listed here. So generally we're asking, like, pull this out a little bit more. What do you actually do as a tutor? Oh, maybe you prepare lesson plans. Maybe, you're working with this student's teacher in middle school. And so the teacher's like, oh, here's all the work that we're doing right now. The student needs help working on their science homework. So maybe you're taking all that, you're analyzing it, you're distilling it, helping the student really understand maybe complex information, so that you can help them with their 1 hour tutoring class. Great. So that's a lot. There's a lot in that. You could probably break that out into even more things. Maybe you're having to report back to a parent or a family member, or maybe to your own supervisor about the various goals that you've set for yourself and how have you accomplished those goals, or what are some challenges that are coming up in these tutoring sessions. All right. So we're going to do this together, but you're going to do this a little bit more individually, thinking about your role. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. We can go back to that little spreadsheet, but honestly, I want you to really think about your experiences. Pick one and think about one of the competencies that you feel you use most in that. Try to parcel out a little bit more. What are the things that you do? How do you do it? Who do you do these experiences with, so that you can really ask yourself, what do I really do in this job or in this position or in this role? So again, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go ahead and do that, and then we'll connect back again. So you're doing this on your own. All right. How was that for everybody? Maybe in the chat, if you can just share which of the career readiness competencies you selected to talk about. Lots of leadership. I see lots of leadership again. And some communication. Someone just posted in the chat that they recognize some of the icons from the career readiness because we have them posted all around our office in Barnes Hall. So yes, absolutely. Yeah, and even the posters have some really good, how to keep building or how to recognize these skills. So if you haven't been to Barnes Hall, come visit us for sure. Great. Thank you everyone for participating. So again, I briefly touched on this, but it is one thing to recognize those skills, and also to kind of continue recognizing that you continue to build on these skills, or there are other ways that you can build on these skills. Again, I'll just reference the career development toolkit. There are, for each of these competencies, we have 10 to 12 different strategies for continuing to build. on each of these scales. So I'll just like touch base on a couple of these in our short time together tonight. So yeah, we'll kind of start with, I don't know, we'll start with maybe communication. You could, and we'll kind of reference our career services. You could schedule a practice interview with career services staff. That's a great way to practice your communication skills, to practice that. Tell me a little bit about yourself answer. You could continue to practice networking skills by connecting with alumni and your peers using CU eLink, so that incorporates some of the written communication skills as well. You could, even as you're thinking about other ways, let's see, maybe even like for equity and inclusion, keeping an open mind to diverse ideas, new ways of thinking. Think about different clubs or organizations or talks that you could attend on campus. We often have speakers that will come that are open even to like the Ithaca community. Great way to kind of get some additional exposure. Identifying resources, eliminating barriers resulting from individual and systemic racism, inequalities, and biases. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are some really great opportunities. And I know that many of our students are doing this. So if you feel like this is one of those areas that you are interested in, again, lots of resources to help you connect to these opportunities to continue to develop your skills. Talking about leadership, like volunteering or running for a leadership role, taking on that leadership role in a student organization. Honestly, even thinking about different academic groups that you might be in for projects in your classes, thinking about those moments where maybe 3 of your peers, everyone's trying to decide what to do, and you kind of take on that leadership role to help organize your group. Absolutely. Even planning an event or a meeting, sometimes, depending on what organizations you might be a part of, or running a meeting, setting those clear goals, identifying and securing resources. Absolutely. So lots of different things. Professionalism, looking at internships. Absolutely. That's going to give you some different professional experiences. Or even looking at listings on Handshake as well. And technology, I'll just say we have a lot of different technology that we're using, whether you are accessing some of our other technology that we have, for example, like Handshake or some of the other resources, using those online resources, even using email and Zoom. You can think about some of those things, maybe getting a little bit more comfortable. I know that now that we're not as much as in the Zoom world, sometimes you're still trying to navigate, and especially because Zoom is updating. So absolutely. I'll also mention quickly too that in many of these areas, as a student, you have access to LinkedIn Learning. It is free to you. Cornell pays for it. I'll throw in some of those links also in the chat as we're talking a little bit more, but talk about in terms of technology or even some of these other areas. LinkedIn Learning could be another great resource to get some exposure in some of these areas and how to continue to build on them as well. So as you're building these skills, what do you do with this? We talked a little bit about how to articulate these skills to employers. We're going to specifically focus right now on bullet points and building those resume bullet points, using some of these career readiness skills to really help influence what you're talking about. We have lots of resources on how to build your resume, so I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I'll just reference again, the Career Development Toolkit is such a great resource, lots of great templates, also like action items, helping you kind of walk through things. But to kind of boil it down and really focusing on how to build those bullet points, we typically are encouraging students to ask themselves, what did you do? How did you do it? And why did you do it? To help you as you're developing these for various experiences that you have. Again, we already highlighted, I already talked a little bit about, it could be an internship, it could be a work experience, it could be a volunteer experience, it could be project experience. There's a lot of different ways to kind of build on this. So when we talk about what did you do, we're really focusing on the task. What was that task you did? What were some of the responsibilities as part of that task? And we already did a little bit of that exercise, so you can reflect a little bit on what you may have written there. It does help to think about some really strong action verbs to help identify that. I evaluated, I communicated, and I should mention that typically in a resume, you're not going to say I this, I that, but focusing on communicated, evaluated, connected, collaborated with peers to X, Y, and Z. So typically that's what this is like the fun part for our jobs when we're talking to students is like, oh yeah, let's help you build this out. What did you do? Talk to me. Let's brainstorm a little bit. But also, how did you do it? And here's where some of the technology career readiness could come in. Even the teamwork and collaborations, professionalism, maybe you're, had to communicate to a professor, but thinking about some of those tools and resources, thinking about some of the strategies maybe that you incorporated as you solved the problem. But absolutely, this is a really good place to incorporate those transferable skills. And again, asking yourself, looking at that exercise that we just did and making sure that you answered like, how did I do this? But also the why, really great to kind of incorporate these results. This kind of like the purpose. What was the goal? What was the outcome of this responsibility that you did? Sometimes this is a harder place to focus on. So absolutely, for any of these areas, it's going to be really helpful to remember that we are a resource to help you navigate through this. So why am I encouraging you to kind of build some of this out? To go back to what employers are looking for as you are building your resume and recognizing those transferable skills, recognizing those career readiness skills that you are continuing to develop. It can be really helpful to look at the job posting, or I should really broaden this to say an opportunity posting, because it could be a volunteer experience. It could be, something that you're applying to, a scholarship, maybe even, but absolutely, as we're thinking about career in terms of internships or jobs after you graduate, it can be really helpful to look through this opportunity to really get a sense of what are they looking for. A lot of times they're going to say, looking for people who are curious or who have specific skills. And I mean like coding skills or computer skills or knows Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office, but also you'll see stuff like ability to collaborate or ability to finish a job on your own with little supervision. So again, looking through the job posting, and we have this little tool, so you could start writing down some of those areas that you really identify, the collaboration, the communication, the critical thinking, problem solving, absolutely. And then you get to reflect on, oh, I've done this, but really, where have I done this? How have I done this? How can you kind of make those connections for that employer? So they're looking for specific skills and you have them through various activities that you've experienced. And this is really going to be a great way for you to be able to tailor and to really customize your resume for that opportunity. Typically on a resume, we're going to really make sure that you're thinking about most relevant experiences first, and how can you organize your document to really highlight that. But it's also about building out those experiences. So you're not just like, oh, I was a tutor, but building out a little bit more. Oh, I interacted with students, 5 students to help them do X, Y, and Z. So really building that out a little bit more. And as you can see on the slide, even echoing key words and phrases. So you see in the job posting or that opportunity posting, they're really looking for people who can collaborate. And you're like, oh, I collaborated. And so making sure that you're incorporating some of that as well. I know I keep talking about the Career Development Toolkit, but I'll just emphasize again, there's an amazing, it's one of my favorite pages in the resume module, and it's all the action verbs and it's listed by different skills. So you're like, oh, I'm trying to highlight communication skills, but I don't want to keep on saying communicate, communicate, communicate. Go to that action, the action verb list, and you can see all of those amazing synonyms that will help you. And you can also Google, but the Career Development Toolkit has a really good resource. So let's take just 5 minutes. Writing resume bullet points can feel a little bit overwhelming, but we're just going to have fun with this. Give yourself about 5 minutes, write 1 or 2 skills, and honestly, even reflect back to that activity that we did earlier where I asked you to really think about, like, what did I actually do? You might already have some great bullet points that you can really build from. So again, feel free to ask questions. We'll let you do this work on your own for about 5 minutes. Okay. How did that go for everybody? I had some messages while we were doing the activity, and yeah, this can feel a little bit overwhelming. I see some people were volunteering to add some of their resume bullet points. There's their example. So well done. Good. Yeah. I mean, this can feel really challenging, but it can also be really fun. I personally think it can be really helpful having that opportunity in front of you so that you have something to kind of guide you. But it can also help if you look back at like your old job description or that posting that you're really excited about, and just kind of reminding yourself like, oh, right, I did do that. Those were other things that I forgot to include. Again, you want it to be relevant, so you're not necessarily having to put like a ton of information in there. But it's a useful tool to remind yourself of what this is. This is going to be helpful even in your LinkedIn profile. And again, just as a reminder for you of all the skills and all the things that you have done. Even again, some of you, I know you're like, oh, I didn't have any job or internship experience, but we're able to kind of think about projects that they've done in their classes. And that's a really great way to build from there too. All right, well, as we kind of wrap things up tonight, just a reminder, right? How many times did I say? I feel like we should have had a little game of like, how many times did Heather say the career development toolkit? It's so amazing. I know you all have this as part of your Canvas, but a lot of times I talk to students and they're like, oh yeah, I think it's on my Canvas, but I haven't actually explored. Hopefully this gets you excited because you're already using that career readiness workbook. But, we continue to build on these little mini career courses. You can see there's that career readiness course right there at the very beginning, but there's so many other great resources. We talked about the resume. We did not get into cover letters, but also the interviewing module is a really good one that you can absolutely incorporate the knowledge that you gained through the workshop today into answering some of those questions about, tell me a time that you collaborated with a peer and, solved a problem. Great. Let me tell you a little bit about that. And these are great exercises to really help you prepare for, these very important steps as you apply to different opportunities. CU eLinks. I like to talk about this as another resource. There are so many alumni who have volunteered to be part of this knowledge sharing platform, a networking platform, where you as a student can reach out to an alum to ask questions, to explore career paths, to request to meet with them virtually or via phone or in person. But one of the things that part of the reason why I like to bring this up as well is that there are some different filters in the system, and one of them is kind of conversation topics, or I'd like to share more information on, and career readiness is one of them. So this is great. I often will interact with students who want to go into a different industry, or they're thinking about changing kind of their traditional major to career path, and they are not sure, like, I'm not sure what skills I need if I want to go into finance. All right, well, you could connect with somebody who is currently in a finance profession right now and ask a little bit more. What do you do during your day? What are some of the skills that are valued? Do you have any additional resources or suggested people that I could connect to learn more? So absolutely, CU eLinks is a great resource to connect, and also practice building on your communication skills and your professionalism skills, and even the career and self-development skills. So absolutely. some next steps as you continue maybe exploring the career readiness module, but as you kind of take these skills and apply them as you move forward, absolutely explore the career development toolkit. I'll also mention, as I introduced myself at the beginning, I work with Cornell Career Services with the Central Office. For those of you for our undergraduate attendees tonight, you also have your college career services office, and there are great resources as well. Graduate students, you also have additional resources, but you can also through the graduate school, and we are also another resource for you here in our office. And as I said, yeah, explore CU eLinks, connect with Cornell alums and your peers. Those of you who are first-year students or even sophomore or juniors could reach out to your senior peers to ask a little bit more, or to graduate peers as well through CU eLinks. There's lots of different ways of connecting, and this is specifically for our office, for the central office in Barnes Hall. Our office is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 p.m. You can absolutely schedule an appointment with us or follow us on Instagram. There's a lot of really great resources on Instagram, student stories, tips, etc. And just a reminder of the services that we provide our students. If you are trying to connect with your college career services office too, you can access that, any one of their scheduling links through our website, and you can see that. I'll send that to you all later as well. Again, follow us on Instagram. Look at all those great stories. We do have workshops and events coming up. Honestly, and I'll just kind of throw this out there too, we are here all year long. So even in the summertime, and oftentimes there will be some different events and workshops in the summer. Some of you may have experiences that you're committed to in the summer, while others, maybe this is a great way to continue your professional development, your career and self-development. But we do have some sessions that are coming up over the next couple of weeks. And I always appreciate feedback. I know this was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Feel free to submit your feedback through this QR code. Definitely is helpful for me as we continue to improve our workshops. And thank you so much, everybody, for participating and for being here tonight. I will stick around to answer some questions that you have. And there's my contact information if you want to reach out to me as well, my LinkedIn as well. And have a really good night. And I will hopefully see you maybe in our office or across campus. Thank you so much.